Hey, Kat. We're in the month of September. No, that's a lie. It's a week past.
It is. Thank you for clarifying that.
I just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page. Yep.
But we're talking about we journaled in September.
Yes, we're reviewing Gentleness in September.
Which I was a little confused, so I think I'm looking forward to.
Confused about how to be gentle in September, or is it wake me up when September ends?
Right. I was just a little. There's a few different definitions, so I'm looking forward to getting into that with you and with our guest, which I'm super excited about.
We have a wonderful guest. We have my mother, Connie Crenshaw. We're all big fans. Thanks for coming here to talk to us about gentleness. This is her first podcast. This is my first podcast too. Just the 4th episode of it. So that's
exactly. Yeah.
We're all new to it.
And Mrs. Crenshaw, I just want to say that if one of the fruits of the Spirit was coolness, that's the one that I wanted to ask you in for.
But we didn't get that opportunity
because it's not one of the fruits of the Spirit.
Not on our list.
So, but I just, I have to say thank you.
Thanks,
for joining us.
Yes.
So, okay. First of all, what definition of gentleness did you use? Because there's a few different ways to look at the word gentleness. And what do you think the definition of it is meant to be in the fruits of the Spirit?
Oh, specifically compared to everything else in the fruits of the Spirit?
Like when you look up...
Because I think gentleness...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just kindness. Gentleness in spirit is like peace-seeking, I would say.
Mm.
And, like a kind word is all I kept on hearing. That'll go through much of my conversations.
Awesome.
Gentleness is kind words, but kind in spirit. And you're receiving other people well in terms of you're being gentle to others.
Okay.
And gentle to yourself. Because it's not meekness, but meek, kind, humble,
yes.
humility.
Okay, humility.
These are all things that are wrapped up in gentleness, I think.
Okay. I'm on the same page with you for humility.
Okay.
Connie, what about you? What kind of definition, when you hear the word gentleness from the fruits of the Spirit, how do you define that? What are the synonyms you start using?
That was the first thing I did, was like, I got to
Webster's.
find this. And then I had to go and see that in Galatians 5:22, it apparently is the only place it's used. But I was like you. I thought kindness, but there must be some imperceptible little difference. The one I liked best was a disposition that is even-tempered, tranquil, balanced in spirit, unpretentious, has the passions under control.
There you go.
So
That's
that
beautiful.
gave me a little different flavor than just being kind or tender, but that
was that an author's definition, or you looked that up in what?
And I never heard of this, but the New Spirit-Filled Bible.
Oh.
I don't even know how
That's exciting.
I guess I was on my phone.
I like that definition, though, that balanced they threw into it.
Yeah.
That makes me think more about being even-keeled, right? That was in it. Balance.
Right. Yes, balance in spirit.
Right. Tempered, because
Yes.
that's how everything comes back to in my life. We've talked about joy, patience.
Right.
It's all quick reactions, emotional reactions is how I operate through life.
Yes.
So I knew gentleness was going to be kind of like patience. It's the first thing I'm thinking about because every day I'm emotionally reacting to life events or anything. And so I'm like, how can I approach my emotional reaction with gentleness, which is not in my nature, I think.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I am reacting emotionally, yes, I'm not thinking emotionally I'll be gentle.
Right.
Emotionally I'll be justified by thinking this way, or emotionally I'll, make the other people understand my point of view. And so I was not thinking of gentleness when I was thinking balance. Or normally I'm not, but this month I was trying to reflect on gentleness and being balanced, and that makes you be reserved after I react emotionally, and you say, or what would gentleness look like in this situation?
Right.
I guess. And it's being balanced and even tempered. It's not being reactionary.
That's awesome that you had that thought.
Well, I just
And
connected to that
it connected to that.
balance.
Yeah, for sure.
What definition did you rest upon most?
Well, Connie, did you have a response to that? It seemed like you might want
I
to.
was just a clarity. You're saying I initially would be emotional, but this balance helps me remember.
The fact that I'm focusing on gentleness this month,
Yes,
it forces me to be more balanced, to think about being balanced.
yes.
Because I don't think about that in my normal day-to-day life if I wasn't doing a podcast about gentleness this month.
Right.
I would
No,
be
that was good.
more focused on justifying my position of why I'm thinking this way. I
It
seek
put it top of
justice
mind.
first for why I am the way that I am, or why I'm reacting the way I am.
I really identify with that because I feel like it does take a lot to get me riled up.
Mm.
But when I do get riled up, I'm riled up. And when you're riled up, it's kind of hard to be gentle.
Right. That's what I keep coming back to.
And it is good that we spent a month being hyper aware of having a gentle spirit. So for me, I thought, all right, well, gentleness. How am I defining this in my consideration as I'm going through the month? And who do I see? I was really looking outward, like trying to look and identify it in other people and the actions that I saw with other people. So at the beginning of the month, I visited a family member who was very close to the end of life. And the gentleness that I saw in her sister caring for her was something that I was like, oh, man, it's not an appropriate time to ask this person to help us with a podcast, but this person understands gentleness.
Yes.
And, but anyway, it really carried, I carried that through the month, thinking about her and what she had to do to care for her sister, and then also just the humility that
Right.
comes with that process of helping someone pass on to the other side.
Yeah.
And so that was an interesting thing, and I probably would not have put two and two together otherwise if I was not focused on gentleness
Yeah.
this month. And so I was thankful for that because I appreciated
Right.
what the gentleness that went into that process more
Yeah.
than I ever have in the past.
Can you give an example of what she said or what was tender? that
In just in every demeanor with someone who's passing, with your tone, with your touch, with your understanding of where they're coming from and what their needs are, anticipating their needs, I felt like all of that was being gentle.
Right.
They have to come first. And it has to be done with such care, tailored to them. So that was another concept that was defined for me with gentleness was I need to, I'm going to have to look at my notes so that I get
That's
this
fine.
right.
I can appreciate that perspective in terms of like, yes, if I'm focusing on gentleness and I'm trying to add in perspectives of other people in different situations in life, I feel like that provides longevity of normally I think day to day, moment to moment, like, and I can't be gentle in this moment because I'm feeling such strong emotion.
Yeah.
But if you take on the perspective of someone, you know, dealing
Yes.
with an end of life situation or that cycle, it gives perspective to your life and your everyday.
Absolutely.
interaction, and hopefully can provide more source of gentleness. I would guess that perspective.
Definitely a learning experience.
Right.
So what I had written there was, gentleness requires me to study and anticipate the needs of others
Mm-hmm.
and adjust my level of care accordingly. So I think that's what I learned from her.
That's a lot of consideration of
The-
other people.
Right.
Right. It, like her, the sister that was providing the care, her life was put completely on hold.
Right.
And whatever her sister needed, that's what she was there to do. And she was there to do it well. And she was there to make sure that her sister received whatever she needed. And I just identified that as being gentle.
Yeah.
So, but Connie, what about you?
No, I'm just thinking of what the word John's using is emotional.
Mm.
The word I came upon most was my sin.
Mm.
When the question you have about were there any obstacles preventing me?
Yes.
I mean, that's just a simple sentence. Yes, my own sinful selfishness, my desire to have my things my way. I think coming out of some desire to control. And so, boy, can you answer sharply and unkindly and
Right.
sarcastically if you're not doing a month on gentleness.
Right?
Yes. That's what leads us to. That's what I'm saying, I guess. Just selfishness in terms of, I guess I see the world my way, and it's a lack of perspective of why other people don't see it my way. Like
Yeah.
they're living their life, and my immediate selfish response is, why don't you see it my way? In terms of, that's why I'm not gentle, is because it
Yeah.
makes sense in my mind of why you wouldn't respond this way, or why you expect me to respond a different way
Yeah.
than my selfish desire is to explain why I'm acting this way.
So, Connie, did you have any moments where you caught yourself?
Oh
you
my
were
goodness.
you were about
Oh my goodness.
to respond without gentleness, and then
It's
you
just
and then you were able to adjust.
the opportunities I have now. Kids are gone, grandkids come and go, but
Yes.
Max retired,
Yes.
and we're together a lot, and different physical things are happening to us as we age,
Of course.
and the temptation to be snappy and short is
Right there for the taking. Easily.
and it's discouraging. You're not who you hoped you were.
Sure.
But it's okay, because that's the gift, is that we can, we have the opportunity to remember Christ's forgiveness, and we can exhale and confess what we've done, and then inhale the Spirit,
Right. Some grace.
and say, Lord, can you help me? Can I add some words here that would temper what I just said, or just focus on something else?
Take a break.
Well, right. I mean, I wrote, get a fresh opportunity, what I just said. And then I can think of strategies to stay out of anger and stop myself, and start with a kinder demeanor and build some different sentences. And then I went, so the other ones I can remember, to be, I guess what would help me is to remember what my responsibilities are, that the Lord, I'm at my post, the Lord's given me a thing to do, a place to be, I'm still His person in a new situation. So what are my duties there? Are there any joys there? Are there any, like you said, let go for a moment and focus elsewhere? I can stop attributing motives to people and let
Projecting.
unimportant things go and vain imaginings go,
There you go.
and remember his kindness and just thank him and move on,
Yep. Oh, man.
That's beautiful.
I had a
So
thought.
I have a question. So in a moment when you would have snapped at the person that you later wish you hadn't, did you notice the gentleness from them in
Ooh.
on the receiving end of that? Maybe not every time, but was there ever a time?
Situation, maybe.
And we can edit this out if the answer is not what we need it to be.
We can skip it.
Did I notice gentleness from the other person when
Yes.
I myself was not gentle?
When
Yes.
yeah.
Well, isn't it interesting?
Sometimes.
Because the gentlest person I know is John's dad, and so he does not respond. he is.
He lets it roll off his back. Do you think that's a conscious decision, or is that?
I'm not sure that it's rolling off his back, but
Okay.
he's suppressing it
Sure.
for the greater good.
I gotcha.
Because that's
he's,
what I
He's giving immediate forgiveness.
notice with my husband.
Yeah.
So I don't snap a lot, but when I do, the gentleness is there on his end to take up what I couldn't achieve in the moment.
Yeah.
And he realizes that something's going on with me that needs to be addressed.
Right.
And so the gentleness, the forgiveness, it's like, okay, well, and he shared a comment with me that I'll read, because Jon and I really like to make sure that we focus on this without too much outside commentary prior to the podcast.
Yes,
Right.
he
So
told me
I don't want to talk to my husband all throughout the month, because then it becomes answers from my husband and me.
He said this. I said this.
But I felt like this one was so good. He said, when you apply too much pressure, things break.
Sure.
And I was like, gosh, babe, you're so smart. It's just such a simple way to put it. And so
I like it.
he knows that if I have snap, that's a
Right.
break, and there's too much pressure.
Right.
And so then he's there to provide the softness and the gentleness and the soft, safe landing
That's awesome.
that is needed to recover from the moment.
Right.
And so that is then something we get to be thankful for. So,
Oh my
Yes.
goodness, that's beautiful.
There's good.
well, what you wrote
Gentle
was beautiful,
landings.
so.
Yes.
Gentle landings, yeah.
Gentle landings.
Right?
It's very important.
If we can be the gentle landing for the people around us, like, what a beautiful world.
Yes. We need to focus on that because, yeah, I'm not a good example of that and being snappy. And I'm trying to understand because, I mean, I feel like this is another example I used in a different context, probably patience. But being in the hospital again
Yeah.
with my wife, and it's the situation of it's not where she wants to be. It's not where I want to be in terms of going through, not just like the place, but just going through what she's going through and me having to watch and stuff. And so that idea that I'm not being gentle in bearing the same burdens she's bearing, but I'm being snappy because we're both agitated.
Yeah.
But she's, not mad at me in terms of she's not blaming me for a situation, but I'm letting the situation make me snappy at her or easily frustrated in terms of what we have to deal with. So a couple of times I was trying to think about gentleness differently than just my words because I have sharp criticisms apparently for other people that I don't mean it to be that way, but like I said earlier, I think it's a miscommunication on my part of me trying to explain how I'm thinking, but it doesn't come across that way. It just comes across as me being judgmental and presumptuous
I had one of those moments. I'll tell you about it
of
in a
other
minute.
people. But so one of the times I was saying gentleness, other than being a kind word or a gentle, soft place for someone to find peace, which is another thing. but it's bearing burdens with one another in terms of existing, like not finding the solution. I think that was my problem. Patience a lot is I want to find the solution of how we get out of this place that both of us don't want to be. And so I use solutions to be, more aggressive and snappy, I guess you said. But gentleness is bearing and letting, it sit, I guess. The pain sit for both of us in not finding how we can, I don't know. I'm not being passive, but you're being active in bearing the burden and not reacting to it or reacting to what they're going through.
Yeah.
That's kind of circuitous how I was talking about it, but I think you get what I'm going
Absolutely.
for.
There was a Christian band back in the day. Was it Third Day?
Yes.
Remember Third Day? Okay. I don't know if they still play. But anyway, they have this song, one of their popular ones was, I can't stop the rain, but I'm going to hold you till it's gone.
There you go.
And that's it.
Yeah. Taylor Swift has a lot of
Tay-tay.
illustrations about dancing in the rain. You could be more positive about that, but some people just can't do that in a thunderstorm. So that's it. But you can hold them,
It's scary.
like you said.
It's scary in a thunderstorm.
Right.
And y'all have definitely gone through some thunderstorms.
So the gentleness aspect of it is, yes, I want to bring peace to a situation, peacefulness. You want to be a place where someone doesn't tense up when they go through something or they bring a subject up. But I think that's a bad habit I have of I can't be a place. I am prone to not be a place where people can explain their problems and then sit with it, kind of. The gentleness and, like my mom said, and balanced. Like receiving a situation with balance isn't always solving it immediately. It's processing it emotionally and processing it with gentleness, I guess. The processing part is what I'm skipping over, probably.
You want to fix it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm solution-oriented, process-driven, but I'm not experiencing. I'm not able to be a peaceful place for someone to unburden themselves, I guess. I'm not a gentle place. I
Well,
don't know why we...
as your friend, I don't see it that way.
Thank you.
So you have great humility, sir,
Yes.
for suggesting that.
Humble brag.
But I also get that from your perspective, you know yourself the best.
Right.
I get that you would say I don't process that well, but I don't feel like there's anything I couldn't come to you if it was a hard thing. I don't feel like there's anything I couldn't come to you with if I needed to, that you wouldn't be like, man, that really stinks.
Sure.
And then you would hear me out, and that's all you can do
Yeah.
in a lot of situations, or I'm praying for you,
Right.
and then that's it.
Yeah.
So, and it's nice to be able to talk to people if you need to.
Yes.
Thoughts,
Be a
Connie?
gentle word.
Well, I was just thinking it's easy to sit with a friend and grieve with them over a hard situation and just say, and so then you don't really want to do this, and they'll say yes, or whatever and that sounds like that's what, it sounds like that's what you're
That's what I'm
aiming
for.
at.
Yes.
Right.
But there's something about, going through it every day. I guess with your married partner, they get the worst of you in terms of same issues keep coming up, and I don't want to process them anymore. I want to solve them and be done with them, but that's not how life works.
Absolutely.
So
It's really great when you can move beyond it.
right.
But Connie, you probably have had so much experience with being there for friends and family members through the years,
And kids.
being a soft place for them to land.
No,
Do you
I
not
don't
see it that way?
know. I don't
What's
know.
the key? Sure. All your kids
The
have gone
key?
through through a lot of stuff.
No, I just.
And they keep coming back to you.
Do you feel like you haven't been their counsel?
That would require
No, I
her
don't
to.
feel. I don't feel like I mean, I feel like I aspire, like you're saying. I feel like I aspire to that.
Sure.
I sat with somebody in church today, and I was able to listen and kind of repeat back to them what they wanted and their family did not want, and just say, gee, that's rough.
Validation.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm so great with the kids like that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe then more so with your peers.
There's gentleness and validation then, if you can be just a sounding board for someone to validate their emotions and their
Right.
feelings about
We
why they're
have to
going
have-
through a situation like that.
We have to have that.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise it is just our spouse who has to hear it all.
That's my problem.
and that can be really overwhelming
Right.
for a spouse to constantly be hearing you hash things out in your brain. It's a healthy person to take your concerns to, of course, but I certainly value my friends who are there to listen when things don't go the way I want them to, and to be the encouragement that I need, or just the validation that I need that, okay, well, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Wish it wasn't happening to you. So,
One of my answers for our prompt, which we chose, how can cultivating gentleness benefit your relationships with others today? They were trying to have a conversation where they were going to get to their point, but they didn't expect you to be gentle first.
start with a smile.
Surprise them. That's what I need to do. Great idea. Thank you for talking to me about this.
Agreed.
Yeah, that was just a phrase I made up.
What you got, Connie?
I was sad.
Anything good?
I was saying, I guess because I don't know, we get the blessing of obedience, is what I put, the last part of Galatians 5, that very place. And those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. It's the blessing of living, breathing relationship where I can put off my mess and look to Him and say, all right, I messed up, but help me, Lord, do differently. And yet, and be happy because I'm making an effort to be obedient. We had a pastor that used to say, blessed means happy. So happy am I if I follow His suggestions and His path and His Spirit.
Right.
Absolutely.
I wish we could get some more happiness. Ooh, gentleness. Calm. You said that in the beginning. Meditative. Mindfulness. That, I think it's present. That idea of being present. Mindfulness is gentle too. I don't know, it's just the idea that you're not thinking about something that happened months ago or yesterday or something in the future. You're being in the moment. That meditative aspect can provide more gentleness, I guess.
I think
That's
you're right.
what I think. And then contentment, I wrote down. I like to think of synonyms that
Yeah.
lead into gentleness. And that's just, something I struggle with, contentment. So that's probably a reason I'm always trying to achieve or do something differently. And that gets you in the different attitude of not being gentle because you're trying to do something better. So like, I should be more meditative and be more balanced, like you said, and even keeled. So I can focus on gentleness and not focus on how I'm going to do something better.
Well, it's wonderful that you're striving for the next level of achievement in this, on your spiritual level, the next spiritual level of achievement, I guess. Because you're like, okay, well, how do I take a step further into the balance, into the peace, into alignment with Christ? And when we actively seek that out, I think that we do a better job of achieving it.
Maybe like it's
I think God brings us there anyway,
right.
but it is nice when we put an effort into it.
Well, like Will said, pressure makes
Too much pressure and it'll break.
right. I think that's what I'm thinking of is I'm putting pressure on myself to solve a situation or react perfectly or do perfect, be perfect. And that doesn't lead me in a calm meditative state.
No.
That puts me on edge.
Yeah, that's additional stress.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm putting pressure on myself, and that's why I'm not being gentle. I'm not being balanced. I don't know. Maybe that's a masculine thing of
No,
where
I
I'm
think it's
just that idea of, oh man, I'm just trying to say a simple sentence and I can't do it.
No, what you're talking about again is patience with
Oh
ourselves.
yeah.
And we've talked about how we have to be patient with ourselves. We have to have the
It's
grace with ourselves. Yes, we want to achieve it, but we don't change overnight. We don't achieve these things permanently overnight. It requires time. It requires trial and error.
Yes.
And we're people who are self-serving people. And so we have to focus and make an effort to be something other than that. And so we do have to have patience with ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is what we've learned.
Yep. We learned that.
But
obviously I didn't put it into practice, but we learned it.
I'm sure that you're still putting patience into practice. But when we are so hyper-focused on a new spirit.
Yes, that's true. The
Maybe-
old falls away. No, I'm just kidding.
The old falls away.
Forget patience.
Yeah.
I
I
think
forgot the homework I did last month.
right. We're hard on ourselves. We don't remember we're human.
Yeah.
And he says we're, clay pots. You
Yeah.
have this treasure in an earthen vessel. And we expect so much of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think when we're disappointed in ourselves, it's because we've trusted in ourselves and haven't trusted in him
Mm-hmm.
to bring us along bit by bit, failure by failure. He's so faithful. He's not going anywhere, and we can trust him. And who was it that there was a poem? Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget the perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Ooh.
And I kind of like to think that's how the light gets out.
It's beautiful.
You're
Nice.
maybe in our humanity and our striving and our recommitting and
Yes.
confessing, the light gets out to others.
Yes. When you're radically vulnerable, that you're trying and failing, people don't have an option but to see that you mess up, but you're acknowledging it, and that's how the light gets out. You acknowledge that I'm going to fail sometimes, but I'm really trying to be gentle.
I see nothing but light coming out of the both of you.
Oh, Lord.
Okay? Like,
Chill.
Okay,
Chill.
now we can stop, right?
Listen, I know that the both of you, just like me, we're all human, and I
Yes.
get that. But listen, there's a lot of loving light that comes out of both of you.
Oh,
And it better be showing through out of me too, because I make an effort
of
for
course
that.
it is.
But listen, God is going to shine through us no matter what.
Yeah.
We're his.
Right.
We were chosen.
Yes.
We accepted that choice. And he is going to shine through regardless of how
It's true.
hard you try and do something different.
Yes.
So anyway, I just want you to know that,
You hit us with the let go and let God. Yeah, I like that.
yeah, man.
Rapid fire at us.
Mm-hmm.
Just little things that make me smile. Like, I was just thinking, where have I seen gentleness? And it's the silliest thing, but in the grocery store, have you ever? And maybe I'm just apologizing for myself, which is what we were just talking about. But when you walk in front of somebody and they're looking at, they've gotten their way because they're looking for something, and you say, "I'm sorry," and they just say, "Oh, no problem." Does that isn't
Thank you.
that the
Warms my
craziest
heart.
example of little things mean a lot?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, you're good.
Yes.
Oh, I'm good.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, it's just the sweetest. And I was kind of been in a rabbit hole because I have a sister and brother that live in Buncombe County where all this flooding is going on, or
Thinking of you, Asheville.
a bad area where it's really
Absolutely.
bad. It's a disaster. And they're both fine, and their homes are fine. A little bit of water in one, but anyway, I was listening to or reading, and they were that it was someone talking about receiving some supplies, not for themselves, but to give to others.
Yeah.
And their comment is, we see God using, we see God working through so many wonderful people. And it was just the sweetest response. These are not the people that are receiving. These are the people that want to receive this and pass it on to somebody.
Right.
And then my sister was sweet. She shared with me after she got some bars, and she talked to me, and she said, we were in line at an Ingles, which is a giant, 100 cars, she said. And they're off-duty police, she thought. And when they got to the place and they handed them, this is what they were there for. A loaf of bread, peanut butter, and some water. And her husband just said, I'm sure just said, oh, thanks, and, thanks for being here. And they said to him, oh my goodness, this is just such a little thing we can do to get you guys back on your feet. And she said, you're so emotional, but she said, I was just moved us both. And it was just so small. And that is an encouragement, isn't it? That it doesn't have to be much.
Exactly.
It was the life-sustaining thing that people need.
The gentle words that go with it, though, go so far.
Absolutely.
Just moved her to tears.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's why you always got to be prepared. You never know how far it goes.
Yeah.
A gentle word in the grocery store.
Right.
Yes, for sure. So you were talking about something that...
Tell us the story.
Yeah. All right. We went out of town, went to a parking garage. I wasn't sure if this parking garage was the correct parking garage for the event we were going to. And so the woman working that day to take our cash really did not look like she was enjoying work that day. And I was just my bubbly, friendly, is this the right garage? Maybe a little less clueless style. But anyway, and she basically just ignored my question. Oh. And then I think she was just kind of waiting for my husband to pay and then to move on.
Right.
And I asked it again, or he asked the question again, and she finally was like, yes, go on. And so after pulling through when we were beyond where she could hear me, I was like, wow, well, definitely don't have a good day or be nice at all. And so later on that evening, my husband came to me in gentleness and said, sometimes you can really be kind of mean.
Ooh.
I was like, she couldn't even hear me. What are you talking about?
Right.
He was like, just in general, having that kind of reaction to someone who wasn't that nice, but you should check that. And so,
appreciate it, thanks.
Yeah. So that was a nice little check.
Right.
That I should even be gentle beyond the moment, if possible. I'm not a pushover.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so when the injustice happens, I need a little bit of an outlet,
right,
to get that negative energy passed on out of me.
Adjudication. I'm with you.
And so maybe words like that are not the right way to do it, and I need to look for another one. Maybe it's just a big exhale.
Yeah.
And then my husband would kind of probably look at me and know
You're going through it.
That I held my tongue.
Right.
But I appreciated that he called me out.
I'm glad he was gentle about it.
I said, thank you for being
I wouldn't be.
Yeah. I said, thank you for being my mirror. Please continue to be my mirror.
Right.
And that was just an interesting learning experience, because I feel like, I was nice to her.
Yeah.
I didn't. But then even on the backside, I need to remember that the thought energy has power.
Carries with you, right?
So that was one of the things.
But I get so frustrated. I don't know where to put it.
So another thing I said, one of the things I wrote down. Multiple friends said things this month that seemed completely ridiculous to me, but the proper response is a gentle one.
Right.
I did that 2 out of the 3 times.
Mm.
The third time, I calmly removed myself from the situation, from the conversation.
That's all
But
you
it
can do.
stressed me out anyway.
Right.
And so
Just
that's, I
thinking
think,
about it.
that's, I think, where you and I struggle with the same thing where, okay, we don't want to snap in the situation, but it creates a stressful pressure that we need an outlet for.
Yeah.
So maybe we just need to search the appropriate balanced outlet
Yes.
so that we can still take care of ourselves
Right.
and the stress release that we need without causing another human being to take that.
Right.
Because by me saying something to my husband, he had to accept the stress energy. Then what is he supposed to do with the
Right.
stress energy?
I gotcha.
So I need to find somewhere
That's
else.
the healthy way to do it.
But he was gentle. He was a soft landing place for me.
Right. We can all strive to be more like Will than soft and gentle.
He's very strong, but he's very gentle.
Come on. I was just trying to make a point. Of course not.
Okay, so
Super machismo.
Oh, yeah. He's a macho man. So I have a question for y'all on, did you ever consider the word gentility and what gentility means as part of
Like
your
being
journaling?
genteel?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, do you know what that
I
even
only know
never
the
went
means?
southern
there.
genteel. Genteel.
Right.
Genteel.
So
The southern aspect, I
I
think.
looked
of
it up, right? A gentleman,
Yes.
right?
Gentlemen. Perfect.
All right. So I looked that up because I needed to know
I wish I
If
was a
that's-
gentleman.
if that's what.
If it stems from that?
It's not, though.
Oh,
Humility is the word.
Okay.
Humility is the Greek.
Perfect.
So, but this was interesting too. Gentility, having high moral standards,
Oh.
and synonyms or words to describe gentility: respectability, polish, politeness, culture, good breeding, grace,
Yes.
um,
Grace takes care of it all.
yeah. So that's something that I've always strived for. I've always valued gentility.
Mm.
I didn't know that that was the word
Right.
that encompassed those things that I strive for. But I think that they are very much related to gentleness.
Yeah.
And so when we strive to refine ourselves, we're more able to respond
Right.
in a refined way.
Yeah. Politeness.
Yeah.
There's a
Respond
lot
in
of
a way that
gentleness.
is appropriate.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if that was a...
The honest politeness is like gentleness. It's not fake politeness just to be
Yeah.
polite. It's
No.
like earnest gentleness is being polite. Like in the grocery store,
Right.
of passing the gentle word on, being polite.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good connection point.
It's part of
Genteel.
it's part of us fostering this kindness throughout society,
Right.
which we can't talk too much about kindness because that's another fruit that we'll talk about later. But they are very close.
Sorry, you're right. I brought it up.
No, I just said kindness.
Stay off of it. Just kidding.
John, you're having an emotional response.
Yes. See? You see it already. I'm glad you get a glimpse.
All right, I don't know if I have anything else. Let me see. Connie, do you have anything
Any
else?
more words?
No, I don't think.
You don't have to.
Nope. Not I.
Awesome.
All right, one of the last things. I said, I think I... Excuse me. We'll edit that part out. I said, I think pretty highly of myself. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't consider myself a humble person, but I very much like to acknowledge the efforts and contributions of others. I want to elevate others. I know what I've accomplished, So I want others to know that I see what they have accomplished as well. Maybe I'm hitting the mark there on humility. But I'm working with someone right now that really brought that to the forefront for me, where I said, oh, this person was responsible for this good thing that happened. And they said, no, this person was responsible for the good thing that happened. No, it was you. No, it was you. Right? And so when you have that kind of humility,
Right.
in a way, that's a humility. Like, you shine here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident that I've done well, and I want you to know how well you've done too. But then both people were saying that to each other. And that's a cool way to be as well. That by two people being humble, they can elevate one another.
Yes. I like
Maybe.
that. Set standards for each other.
That was it. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
Thank
Fun
you
to be
Kat.
with you
so
too.
much.
Did you have fun?
Yes, it was
We'll carry it on.
fun.